That we believe we're already perfect, whole, and complete exactly as we are. There's nothing to be forgiven from. If we made a decision that didn't work out, that missed the mark, which is what sin means, then we just get a chance to do it over. We get a chance to continually hone who we are and how we are so we can show up as our best selves. Because ultimately, you are a miracle. You are beautiful, perfectly made for a perfect purpose. Perfectly made for a perfect purpose. Exactly, just right as you are. So I get emotional sometimes. Y'all know that I leak. So I didn't expect, though, to be at a music festival in the merch tent, and I couldn't stop crying. I'm like crying. Like Sonia from Disappear Fear, she comes over, she goes, "Come here, bring it in." And then her wife comes over, "You okay?" I'm like, "I'm just so full. I just can't. I'm just so full. I'm just so full, I'm overflowing." That's when I cry most of the time, is because I'm overflowing. And what was happening was Heather May and Chris Matthews were on stage, and they were singing songs about loving who you are and loving humanity and coming together on common ground. And I was like, man, this is important stuff. This is important work. It matters. But it's not just the people singing on the stages or the people giving the talks. It matters, this liaison that we had, our performer liaison. We thought she was just ours. No, she was there for all of the performers. She was working her little fanny off all weekend long, taking care of all the performers for the whole weekend because she wanted to. She wanted to be in service. It matters to be in service, to make someone feel special, to make someone feel welcome, to sit under the big tent for lunch or breakfast and look at someone that you can tell is by themselves, or maybe they're sad or whatever, and they have no one there with them, and you invite them over, right? This is not just music festival, of course, that I'm talking about. This is life. It matters. I overflow when I come back to that place of remembering how much every little thing that we do matters. Every little thing that we do is important. We're all connected. We're so connected. And I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Amy Steinberg for being here last week. Yep. And I think she did a fantastic job. I hear the concert was good too, but I watched the talk, and I know what it feels like to be someone who teaches this new thought philosophy that we're all connected, and then something as horrific as Uvalde, Texas shooting happens, and she brought it together, talking about where within me have I been a perpetrator? Where within me have I been the one that was not taken care of? Where have I not taken care of myself? She did a great talk. If you didn't hear it, go back and check it out. But I loved that, and I thought that, picking up on that and talking about that interconnectedness, because everything is consciousness and everything is connected. We live in a reflective universe. The universe is just going, okay, I got you. Give me what you got, and I'm going to give it right back. Give me what you got. I'm going to give it right back. So we live in this dance of reciprocity with the infinite, and we are constantly reflecting. We're constantly outpicturing consciousness. But remember, there's individual consciousness and there's collective consciousness. We're going to bless you and know that all is well, whatever's going on right there. Sending love. One of the oldest fire stations in Charlotte is right there. That's I can't remember the number, but anyway, we send them love. Where was I? I was talking about something. Were y'all paying attention? Collective consciousness, that's it. And individual consciousness. Let's talk about individual for just a second. Because, when something bad happens, something that's painful, that's scary, nobody wants to be like, yep, I got that in me. No, we don't. And I was talking with someone in class years and years ago, and she said, I'm with you most of the time. But my brother is a jerk, and he's mean to me all the time. And I'm never mean to him, she says. And she was just really serious. And she was like, how is this stuff you're teaching true if I'm never mean to him and he's always mean to me? How is that a reflection of my consciousness? And I said, well, let's talk about it for a second. What's your relationship like with him? Every time I go, he's mean. I'm like, got it. And then she says a little bit more, and I said, so what do you expect when you're going to see your brother? That he's going to be mean. And I just sat there, and I waited. Bing! The light bulb went off. She goes, oh my God, I have a belief in his meanness. It has to show up because I believe it's going to be there. She started changing her belief in him. She started changing her belief, at least in how he was going to be in her presence, because she was choosing love. She was choosing love, and she believed, and she chose to trust that as she stayed in and cultivated that energy of love and peace, that it would come back to her. And if he was just being in a mean mood, he would happen to be somewhere else that day. And her life started to shift and change, because everything is a reflection. When we're rooted in an inner realization of that oneness, then we are not controlled by outer conditions. Get that. When we are rooted in an inner realization of oneness, of wholeness, of love, then outer conditions have no effect and no power over us. They cannot control us. So surround yourself and be rooted with what you want more of, is the message, right? Surrounded by and rooted in what you want more of, releasing ideas of separation and embracing oneness and love. The Sufi poet and saint Rumi, he said, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrongdoing, there's a field. I will meet you there. And when we lay down in that field, the world will be too full to talk about. When we meet heart to heart in a place where there's no right doing, wrong doing, there's just decisions, and let's make a better one, right? There's oneness. Then the world is too full to even talk about. So often we want to pray for the miracle that's going to save us, right? And it's like the song we sang, that show up and be loved. You got to be it if you want to see it. We're the ones that we've been waiting for. Instead of praying for a miracle to happen out there to change gun violence, to change injustice, inequalities, instead of wanting that miracle to be out there, we have to anchor it within us. We have to choose. And it starts with coming back to love, coming back to love, coming back to center in our own lives, because that individual consciousness then bleeds over into the collective consciousness. And I promise you, it makes a difference. It makes a difference, but we have to continually bring it back. Now, I like the word miracle. I do like it, but I'm going to be clear here. I'm not talking about the definition which says that it's something shocking that can't even be explained by science. No. This teaching is very scientific and can be explained. So I'm talking about the miracle, definition of miracle, that is, an amazing achievement or an outstanding example of something. That's what you are. An amazing achievement, an outstanding example. I mean, come on. You're a miracle. There was like 2 million, maybe even 5 million, depending on the guy, little swimmers trying to make its way to an egg so that you could happen. 2 million on the low side, 5 million on the upside. Little swimmers, little sperms trying to make it to the egg. Yes, I'm talking about sperms and egg. Because think about it, just the fact that you exist is a miracle. It's an amazing accomplishment. The little guy had to swim a long way, right? And then you had to get born. You had to wait. And if you grew up like I did, you rode in the back of pickup trucks. You didn't wear seat belts. You were like, I remember my brother had his one of his daughters, all of his daughters actually, on his lap, 3 of them, while he was driving a tractor, and one fell. And he's like trying to drive the tractor and holding 3 kids under the age of 5, and he just reaches over, grabs her by the back of the jacket and pulls her back up. She was that close to being run over by a tractor tire, okay? It's a miracle. We're here. It's a miracle. And when you think about like what the body does, you are a miracle. You're amazing. Musicians, have you ever stopped to think about how many notes you know? How many, well, there's only so many, but you know what I'm saying. How many nuances of the notes? How many songs you have cataloged in your brain? And inevitably, we always go, oh, man, I don't remember this one. Yeah, you do. It's in there. It's a miracle. I sat with a man at a wedding reception on Friday who has had a transplant, heart transplant, and a kidney transplant. Miracle. Amazing. Amazing that exists, that this is the world that we live in, that these kinds of things, these amazing achievements as us show up. And how do they show up? As thoughts becoming beliefs, becoming our lives. So that's why we are so hypervigilant about paying attention to the thoughts that we think, because it creates the beliefs that create the experiences in our individual lives, and then that bleeds over into the collective experience that we're having. And we don't want to be ruled by those outer conditions. So we have got to stay steeped in the awareness, in that internal realization of oneness. Or as a simpler way to say it, as Dr. Joe Dispenza would say, how do you, when someone asks him how he's so happy all the time, he says, I practice. Practice happy. It works. Start practicing happy. Look for the beauty. I was on my way to this wedding, and oh my gosh, y'all remember Beth Anderson? Beth was part of our community when we first started. She taught our kids, and she actually did this cool thing where she learned how to teach meditation to kids, so if that's ringing a bell. So Beth is now she went on a retreat, met the man of her dreams, married him, and now they have this wonderful retreat center called Sky Retreat up in the mountains and in Wilkes County, I think. It's off the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's gorgeous. But I'm driving along to get there for the wedding, and I just had to stop. I had to stop and just look at the mountains. It's so amazing, this miracle of life. I leaked a little again. Because it's so beautiful. Are we looking for the beauty in life, or are we looking for the problems? Everything is consciousness. Everything is consciousness. So we want to do the things that expand our consciousness, like look for the beauty, look for the good, watch our thoughts, continually go in the direction we want to go, surround ourselves with people that continually help us do that. But then you have things that happen. Things happen. I mean, weather happens. I'm going to talk about the Mud Fest of 2022, also known as the music festival that your music team was at last weekend. Only half the time, yeah, but it just happened to be the day we were performing. So 2 shelter-in-place tornado warnings because they'd been sighted nearby. It was a lot. It was a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, thunder, all that stuff. And I didn't ask for permission. Gina, may I? You may. All right, I'll clean it up just a smidge. So Gina comes out of the tent and she says, Reverend. This is after, our tents are our tent, mine and Angie's. We never flood. Our tents never flood. There was water standing in the tent. They were dry actually in their tent. But Gina comes out and says, Reverend, I would like to know the spiritual lesson in this. How shall I say? In this miserable mud hole that we are living in this weekend. She didn't say mud hole. I cleaned it up. And camp out friends, if y'all are watching, she didn't mean it. She loved it. She was just having a moment. We'd been flooded. Somebody got a tick. It was just all downhill for a minute, But I started thinking about that, Gina. Thank you for prompting me on that, because I was having a moment too. I had taken something for pain the night before because my back was hurting, and I woke up the next day and literally looked at someone I'd known for 20 years and said, do I know you? So I was a little off my game, and all this rain was happening and all this stuff. But I loved the question, what is the spiritual lesson in this? So I started looking for it, and that's one of my tools. I look for the beauty, for the gift, for the lesson, for the whatever it is I'm supposed to get. This is coming to me for a reason. What is it? So first, if y'all know me at all, the first lesson, big lesson for me was surrender. I could not control the tornado. I could not control the lightning. I could not control the fact that when the lightning happened, the stage crew said, immediately evacuate the stage, which I'm actually grateful for because this is kind of like a lightning rod, and I'm right there at it. So I'm good with that. But I was wanting to perform. Man, we came out of the gate. We did one song. We sounded so good. We were on fire. And then they said, clear the stage. So surrender was definitely top of the list. And then I started just looking. Throughout the weekend, I kept looking. And I kept thinking about Katie, our performer liaison, running everywhere. Let me get that. Let me carry that. I have this one picture of all of our gear on a golf cart going through the mud to get to the stage. She took care of everything because of the love she had for music, for this festival, for the people. Just the love in her heart was overflowing, being in service. So I noticed that, and I noticed surrender, and I started saying, okay, all right, okay, I got you. I'm going to see where I can surrender. I'm going to surrender as much as I can. I'm going to be in service as much as I can. And I started using what I was seeing. And then there was love. I'm going to be in love with this experience. Man, I looked down. I was like, man, I love these boots. They're waterproof, thank God, because I've been walking in mud for 2 days. I was looking at anything to love. And I had a lot of things to love because I was surrounded by loving people. But then I started looking at the other thing we could learn from it was cooperation. And think about it. It's like a little They wouldn't say this, but it's like a little church. It's like a little spiritual community. They're family, and they come together, and they take care of each other. And that's like us, right? Where can I be in cooperation? Where can I help build something? Where can I help lift us up as a community? Where can I be a part of that cooperation? And, looking for the beauty is also, and I did ask permission to tell this, and I'm not picking on her because, you know what, my brain went there too. But it was just funny because Kim is very intense, y'all. Our guitar player, she's on those notes and she's going to get them, and that's the way she lives her life. So we're out there one day at the merch table and we're selling T-shirts and stuff, and all of a sudden there's these bugs. And they're everywhere. We hadn't seen them the whole time we've been there. We hadn't seen these bugs. It was after you guys left. There's bugs everywhere, and they're weird little bugs. And they were on stuff. And we're like flicking them off. We're like, what are those? Someone says, looks like a termite. Kim jumped like 3 feet in the air and goes, oh man, I don't need to be taking home a pregnant termite. I said, Kim, in a million years, I wouldn't have thought of pregnant termite, but now I am. I'm thinking pregnant termites. I'm looking it up. Yep, they get pregnant. You can take them home. Yep. So here I am joining Kim on the pregnant. She didn't know that, but I was like, oh man, I don't want to take home a pregnant termite either. I didn't know. And then guess what? Little ray of sunshine pops up, and Angie says, y'all, if you're going to use your imagination, use it for something good. The band heard that the entire weekend. So it became our little joke. So when people ask me, well, how do I live this stuff around people who are negative or people who are having a hard time, right? You do just like that. When we're having the moment of wanting to go, oh, this stinks, right? You find a way to buoy yourself up, even if it's borrowing a little ray of sunshine from somebody else, or a reminder. You remind each other gently, right? We weren't being mean. She wasn't being mean to any of us when we'd had, because she had hers too, I think, but I know I had my moment. We all had our moments, right, of being frustrated. It wasn't going the way we thought it was supposed to go. We worked hard to get there. Ever been there in life? You've worked hard, and what happened to the job? I worked so hard to get that job, and then it's gone. Or I worked so hard to get that new house, and now everything's broken, and I got to do all this reno. Whatever the case, we've all been there. But if we're going to use our imagination, instead of going the disaster fantasizing route, we need to go and use it for something good. Use it for creating something that we want, looking for the beauty. And then I've had a really full week. So we had lots of things, wedding, camp out, festival, and got to see Bonnie Raitt in concert. And Lucinda Williams. It was fantastic. But she said, I was like, am I in church? She said, we're only a belief away from creating something different. And the other thing she said was, she was talking about all the people that had passed during COVID. And, she was really good friends with John Prine and Nancy Griffith and people like that. And she said, let's remember to live for the ones that can't. Let's remember to live for the ones that are no longer able to. And so as I'm thinking about all of that this week, I'm like, the lessons are always there to remind us life is like a songwriter looking for a lyric. It's the same for us on the spiritual journey. The lesson is always there. The gift is always there when we choose to look at it and use our imagination for something good. And it takes work. It takes practice. It takes surrounding yourself with people that continually help you do that. And also who give you grace when you're just like fed up. Because we get there, right? But giving ourselves grace and remembering that it's still working, even when we're not happy about how it's working. It's still working, that input-output experience and relationship we have with the infinite. But being consumed by the problems and the worry and the fear, it keeps us disengaged from the solution. There's always a solution trying to come through us, as us. But when we stay in the worry and the fear, we are disengaged from that solution, and it drains our creative energy. It drains our creative. I don't just mean our energy, our creative energy, our ability to think beyond and create something new for ourselves. It drains that. It stops that. And you say, well, there's so much to worry about. How am I supposed to not worry? I get it. I do. But it's the worried heart that closes down, and it's the relaxed and awakened heart that allows the infinite impulse to move through us and create something different in our personal lives and in the world. So it's important that we do that we practice surrender and being of service. I love that Ram Dass was always saying 3 things: love, serve, remember. Love, be love, Share love. Show up as love. Return to love in your decisions, in your words. Serve. Where can I be of service? Where can I give back to other people? And remember the truth of our being and the truth of the infinite. Where can I give back to other people? There was a lady that was performing. Her name was Gay. I can't remember her last name. It was about this long, but she was amazing. Do you remember her last name? I said it really badly, so I won't try again. But anyway, she said, think about the people that other people don't think about and do something for them. So if you have an ache to serve, and we all do, an ache to serve, just the pull, a longing to be of service, we'll find plenty of things for you to do in our spiritual community. But even beyond that, think about the healthcare workers at the nursing homes, at the hospice houses. Those people that are working every single day doing stuff that none of us probably want to do or could do in a lot of cases. They do some really challenging things. Maybe just send a card with a gift certificate for a couple people, or maybe drop by and hand off donuts and say, just thinking about all the work that y'all do. Anything. There's ways to be of service and to connect with other people if you look for it. And that remembering piece, that's where the meditation and the prayer comes in, because we continually remind ourselves of the truth of who we are, of whose we are, of how we are. And we practice this. We practice the happy. We practice the surrender, the service. Practice looking for the beauty, trusting. We practice the inner realization. The inner realization that God, the good that created everything, is moving through me now. Is in this situation now, is in this mud now. I was over it. I'm not going to lie. I was over it. And then the sun came out. After I just kept surrendering and surrendering and surrendering, and the sun came out. When we live from that relaxed, awakened heart, then we're able to be an open vessel for love. And that's the point. That's when the answers come. That's when it's easier for us to connect and find the next step. Find the next step through whatever chaos and whatever confusion. It starts with love. It starts with love and comes back to love every single time. And being in that space of a peaceful, relaxed, awakened heart. So I want to say Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. I think about that because there's a lot of people out there that could use your love. There's a lot of people out there. You know, I saw something, I think, my wife posted it, I'm not sure, but probably, that said, if you wonder why there's a pride, it's because there's still people out there that think they'd be better off dead than being who they are. So when we talk about being in service, we're talking about being in service with our hearts, finding ways to stand up for people who are not being accepted, to speak up when someone's voice isn't being heard, and finding that and being able to be that person that stands up, that shows up, that makes the difference. I love this quote by Lori Deshane. It says, be the person who breaks the cycle. If you were judged, choose understanding. If you were rejected, choose acceptance. If you were shamed, choose compassion. Be the person you needed when you were hurting, not the person who hurt you. Vow to be better than what broke you, to heal instead of becoming bitter, so that you can act from your heart and not your pain. I thought of that because I was bitter. When I first came out, I went to my first Pride. I was just an angry lesbian with a guitar. I was so mad that I wasn't accepted. I was so mad. That's all I could think about. And what was I putting out? Anger and rejection. Anger and rejection. And then finally that shift happened. But it happened inside of me. It happened when I decided to love me regardless of who else loved me. When I decided to accept me regardless of who else accepted me. And this is not a gay, straight, trans situation. This is a life, human situation. It applies to all of us. I just have that particular speaking platform because I lived it. But it's all of us. All of us can relate to having to find that place within ourselves that says, I'm okay in my own skin. It's okay. I'm good. And I'm not going to use my past to stay there. I'm going to use it. My friend, Reverend Jane Beach, said recently, I'm going to use my past as a springboard and not quicksand. I'm going to use my past as a springboard to the future and not quicksand, keeping me in the past. Hello, God is calling. Never gets old on a Sunday. The point is, let your past be a springboard, not quicksand. And the point is to continually move forward, being the change that we want to see, knowing that you matter. I matter. Say that with me. I matter.
I matter.
Yes, life matters. Being rooted in an inner realization of oneness and love matters. Showing up, speaking up, it all matters. Living from the miracle that we are, honoring that, being so grateful, right? I love my birthday and my birthday month. Hey, I love my birthday because it's just like it takes me every single time. As soon as I see a mimosa tree start to bloom, I'm like, oh, it's almost my birthday. It's almost my birthday. But not just because of the little girl still inside me, very much alive. It's also because of that appreciation for life, that overflowing, looking for the good, and it just continues to snowball and overflow. So when we do that, all these things, when we surrender and to find ways to be in service and return to the love and continually look for the good and trust that this too somehow is for me. This too somehow is for me. When we continually do all these things, we're keeping our energy clean, right? We are taking responsibility for the energy we bring into a room. And actually, I should say we're taking responsibility for the energy we send into a room, because y'all, you send your energy there before you get there. Our energy's bigger than we are. Your energy showed up this morning, came through those doors before you did. So think about that. When you're going into a meeting with somebody, you're going into a family situation, anything that makes you feel anxious, stop. Hand on your heart, tap in, say, okay, wait a minute. I want to send love in there. I want to send possibility. Before you have a conversation, how do you want it to go? Not talking about controlling, talking about intention. How do you want it to go? What do you want the outcome to be? Take a second, feel that outcome. Be in that outcome, in the energy of it, in the gratitude for it. Then pick up the phone and make the call, or go in the door and have the meeting. Send your energy and your intention first. Step into the consciousness that you want reflected back at you before you step into your day, is what I'm trying to say. Step into the consciousness before you step into the day. You never know. You never know who's watching, because again, I'm talking about individual consciousness and collective consciousness. So you never know. This is the last point I want to make. You never know who's watching you and being inspired by you and being changed by you. You never know who's watching, who's learning and growing and actually still living in some cases because you inspired them, because you loved them, because you cared for them. You never know. You're amazing. And I love you. And so it is.